Father, thank you for the great privilege you've given us to read your word, your perfect word, your word that has changed peoples and cultures, your word so filled with elegance and promise. I pray that you help us today. Help me as a teacher lead this discussion well. And I pray the end result that we'll love you more and love other people more. We pray all this in Christ's name. Amen. So today we have a really interesting discussion about a strange little psalm, Psalm 45, quoted in the New Testament several places. And it's interesting in that you could come to Psalm 45 and say it's kind of a mini Song of Songs. So Song of Songs, perhaps the strangest book in all the Hebrew Bible. It's a love poem. In Hebrew, the poem is written largely from the girl's perspective. And this unnamed girl is in love with somebody. She's counting down the days till she can be with the one she loves. And there are other people with voices in Song of Songs. And Solomon is somehow related. And you may or may not know, but Solomon had some issues when it came to women. Song of Songs appears to be written early in Solomon's kingship, and so you're kind of wondering who this girl is and how she relates to Solomon. And it's poetry. It's kind of confusing, but when you get to the end, at least it looks to me, the girl is rejecting Solomon's offer for her to join his harem, and she's choosing instead this unnamed shepherd. And the very end verses in Hebrew are going back and forth, her voice, his voice, her voice, his voice. And they fall into each other's arms and consummate her wildest dreams, I guess you would say. That is a strange book to be in Scripture, but it's about two people who love each other. And the girl is basically at the end saying, Solomon, keep your money. I'm not interested in you. I'm not interested in your money. My vineyard is my own. I'll give my vineyard to the person I choose. You keep your money. And you wonder, like, what in the world is going on? Psalm 45 is the mini version of Song of Songs. And the same issue is happening in that it's describing a wedding, and like, I don't know, like who's saying what. It's a little easier in Hebrew to realize because you pick up when the girl is, when it's talking about the girl and when it's talking about her future husband. But I wanted us today to kind of think about Song of Songs and to think about Psalm 45 and just ask the question, how is this about Solomon? Is this Solomon's wedding, or is this talking about something else? And it's interesting that when we come to Psalm 45 is used two times, appears two times in the New Testament, both of which are applied to Jesus. Hebrews 1 and then Revelation 19, and I would argue all the way through 22 is kind of interacting with Psalm 45 and by connection interacting with Song of Songs. So that's what we're going to do today. If you have questions about this, I appreciate very much those of you who are using the Google Forms. So let's dive in. So what we're going to ask is, what is Psalm 45 about? Psalm 45 is from Book 2 of the Psalter. The end of Book 2 says these are David's prayers. David is reading this wedding psalm. Who's it about? Is it about his son Solomon marrying, or is it about something else? And so by default, everything we say is also going to apply to Song of Songs. So in English, it's called Song of Solomon. That's not what it's called in Hebrew. It's called Song of Songs, or the best song, something like that. So how are they connected? And how is all of this connected with the fact that the beginning of the Bible and the end of the Bible are both connected with a cosmic wedding? In the beginning of the Bible, you have Adam and Eve's cosmic wedding. God is bringing the woman to the man. God has designed the Garden of Eden, and they fail. At the end, we have a revisitation of that, of that picture, but now we have the new Adam, Christ, and the new Eve. So is Psalm 45 and Song of Songs related to that biblical meta-narrative as it has to do with these weddings? And by way of connection, we might ask, well, how does God's design for marriage, how should we think of that relating? What's the promise of the meta-narrative? So we're going to use this short little psalm as a way to step back and look at a whole Bible, biblical theology, and even some of the practical teaching about marriage. So we want to carefully look at the text, and we want to read it in light of the fact that massive sections of this psalm are quoted in the New Testament. It's quoted massively in Hebrews 1, applied to Jesus as the figure, the kingly figure. And it's also applied to Jesus in Revelation 19, and you could argue 19 all the way through 22, because that entire section is dealing with this final cosmic wedding. So here's the text, and I hope you don't mind. I'm going to put the Hebrew up because there are places where you have to decide some things about translation. So I think this is the ESV, and the Hebrew obviously is there. So the ESV says, "For the choir master, according to the lilies, a maskil of the sons of Korah, a love song." Now, when I look at this in Hebrew, the first thing I see is this word "for the choir master" actually has lots of different possibilities. The root of the word is related to the word eternity. You could read it for the victory maker. You could read it for eternity. You could read it for the end. And maybe it means all those things put together at the same time. When we come to according to the lilies, This is verbatim from Song of Songs. It talks about the beloved being lily in the valley. And so you wonder, is like this tune being played in a way to point us to Song of Songs. To the sons of Korah, or for the sons of Korah, this is interesting in that the sons of Korah are the offspring of the people who had rebelled against Moses, and the ground opened up and swallowed the whole family whole in judgment. And yet God in his mercy must have spared some of the sons of Korah in that rebellion, and now they're praising God in the temple. It's interesting to me, this word maskil is usually left untranslated. I really wish we would translate this, because I think we know exactly what this word maskil means, because it's in Hebrew, it's a hithial participle, and it means verbatim, one who causes someone else to be wise. This is the exact word when Eve is at the tree of knowledge of good and evil. It says she saw that the tree could cause her to be wise. And so she reaches out. And so this is a poem that can cause other people to be wise, or, as I would argue, it's actually a person who can cause others to be wise. And then we have this statement, a song of love, and this is love in the sense of falling in love. And it's interesting in Hebrew that the word love is actually in the plural. So it's a song of multiple loves. So we have this title, and it starts us off, and it's like, okay, I'm not exactly sure what's going on here. It's really interesting when we look at the Septuagint translating this. It says this is for the end of time. So the Septuagint doesn't translate this for the choir leader. It goes with that eternity thing. So this psalm is for the end of time. And then the Septuagint doesn't read this word as lilies. It reads for those who are about to be changed. And in Hebrew, that's the same word as this with a slight change. So they're looking at the exact same text, but they're saying, no, this isn't about the lilies. This is about people who are about to be transformed. This is for understanding. So they're connecting this maskil with the whole Garden of Eden and Eve and knowledge. And then instead of doing it as a love song, it reads the same words, but it translates for the one who is dearly loved. So it isn't plural, it's a person, and it's a male person, not a female person, it's a male who is agape. So right off the bat, I'm looking at that and saying, okay, this is a poem, it's a love poem. Who's it about and what's it about? And right off the bat, we get a person who's speaking, who's a man, and this is really weird. You tell me if you find this weird. The man says, my heart overflows with a good word. I, and that I there is a man, not a woman. I am constantly speaking my work, my poem, for a king. So I'm a man, I'm saying this, I'm saying it for the benefit of a king. My tongue is the pen of a ready scribe or a trained scribe. I'm giving this poem, but this poem is being given to me from someone else, and I'm just writing it down. So this is the man, at least as I'm reading it still, says, "You are the most handsome of the sons of men. Grace is poured out on your lips. Therefore, God has blessed you forever." That's the ESV. When I read this in Hebrew, this word is really weird. And it's the word beauty. You are beautiful, and I suppose since we're talking about a man, we're going to translate it handsome. But when I read this in Hebrew, there is another way to translate this. And the other way to translate this is to say, you are more handsome than the sons of Adam. That seems like a big translation difference to me. Is it you're the most handsome of the sons of Adam, or is it you're more handsome than the sons of Adam? And what's interesting about this word in Hebrew is it's written funny. It's written like the guy saying it is stuttering when he says it. And you say, "Oh, I don't believe that's true." Okay, well, let's look at a really good Hebrew commentator. This is what he writes. The verb yafaf, to be beautiful, is found here in an unusual reduplicative form, which gives the amenders a field day. So everybody who comes to this says, there's something wrong with this text, let me fix it. And it's because when the guy is writing it, he's saying beautiful. Like this guy is describing this king, and he's so overwhelmed with the king that he can't even talk right. I don't know how we should do that in the text, but Yaftitah is what it says in Hebrew, and it shouldn't say that. It should just say Yaftah. So I don't know, but I'm going to go with you are more handsome than the sons of Adam. Pain is poured out on your lips. Therefore, God, and this is what it verbatim says in Hebrew, therefore Elohim, and you know how we've talked in this class before about Piels? This is a Piel. Therefore Elohim has Piel blessed you for eternity. So I'm going to ask a question. Do you think this is Solomon, or do you think this is not Solomon? Because I don't think this is Solomon. I think this is somebody other than Solomon. Remember, this is part of David's prayers. I'm assuming that it's either written by the sons of Korah or written for the sons of Korah. Questions on that? That's probably unclear. Let's keep going. Then it says, gird your sword on your thigh. And I'm just going to read this out loud, and you tell me if you've heard this word before. Gird your sword on your thigh, O Gibor. Have you heard that word before? Oh, fighting men, warrior, like. So this is really weird. The guy's about to get married, and whoever the writer is saying, hey, before you get married, I want you to go do something. I want you to kick all the people out of the country who are evil. And it's your wedding day, but go do it before you get married. Gird your sword on your thigh, O Gibor, in your splendor and in your majesty. And I don't know, in Hebrew, there is no word in your splendor. I would do it, gird your sword on your thigh, O warrior one, your sword which is your splendor and your majesty. As I would read it, and your majesty, and let your majesty succeed. So put your sword on and go out and settle God's debts. Ride out in the sense of ride a chariot. Ride out in the cause of truth, and because righteousness has been oppressed, let your right hand teach you glorious things. So whoever is speaking is saying, take your sword out and go settle God's debts. You're about to get married, but go do this first. And this is just straight up imprecatory psalms, like verbatim. Your arrow's sharp. So that's what that says literally. Let people fall underneath you in the heart of the enemies of the king. And so I think the way you have to do it is let your arrows be sharp in the heart of the enemies of the king. So you're about to get married, but I want you to go conquer an army first before you get married. And I want your arrows to be sharp, and I want the location of those arrows to be in the heart of the king's enemies. Does that seem like a weird thing, advice, or weird thing to say to somebody on their wedding day? It seems kind of weird to me to say, is this Solomon or is it someone else? Your throne, and this is the part that's quoted in Hebrews 1, your throne, O Elohim, is eternity and forever. So you sit on a throne. The throne you sit on is eternity. So whoever this you is, your throne, that you is being called Elohim. Your throne, O Elohim, is forever and eternity. The scepter, a scepter of rightness, is the scepter of your kingdom. You have agape, so whoever the Elohim there is the you have agape righteousness. You have utterly hated evil. Therefore, O Elohim, your Elohim has messiahed you with the oil of gladness above your companions. Do you think anybody ever had a problem with that verse? The writer of Hebrews is saying this verse has God, Elohim, calling the person about to be married God. I don't know, if you were an early Christian, would this be an important psalm to use in trying to describe, bless you, who Jesus is? That's exactly how the writer of Hebrews. The writer of Hebrews says, this isn't Solomon, this is Jesus. And the speaker here is God. Therefore, O God, this is how I'm going to do it. Therefore, O God, O Elohim, your Elohim, and you can do this, has anointed you, but it's the exact word Messiah, so I'm going to do it, Messiahed you. Therefore, O Elohim, your Elohim has Messiahed you with the oil of gladness above your companions. This is weird to translate. I have put a lot of time trying to understand these verses. I'm not sure. I'm just going to read it the way it's written. It says verbatim, myrrh, aloe, and cassia. So these are 3 expensive spices. Are all your clothes. Your clothes are all myrrh, aloe, and spices. And you can do this as from the palaces of ivory, but you also could do it from the temples of ivory. You have a choice there. Do you think this word means palace, or do you think it means temple? It's used in the Hebrew Bible both ways, but that's like a whole temple or a whole palace that's made of ivory, or maybe it's a palace that is a temple. And then, my goodness, if I could pull up the translations of this, nobody knows how to translate this. A lot of people do with, from ivory palaces, stringed instruments make you glad. You can do that. You're having to add a letter, I think, to get it to say that. If you read it as written, it says, from me, they will make you glad. So whoever the speaker is, it may mean something else. I don't know. I'm still working through this. From me, they will make you utterly glad. Daughters of kings are among your precious ladies. And you might say, well, that sounds like a harem to me. It kind of sounds like a harem to me, too. If I were going to interpret this of Solomon, I think that's how I would go with it. I don't think it's talking about a harem. This word, ladies of honor, the root of this word has to do with preciousness. In fact, it's the same word that's used of like jewels, like diamonds and rubies and sapphires. I think this is describing a wedding, a royal wedding. And in a wedding, you have attendants there, male attendants and female attendants. And I think these are the older attendants, and they're being compared to jewels. That's how I'm doing it. It's hard. Everybody who's ever tried to translate this poem recognize that it's hard to translate. And then it says, there stands by your side the Shagael at your right hand in the gold of Ophir. So I think this is the woman who's being married, and she's called the Shagael, and they're translating the ESV as queen. The word queen in Hebrew is the word milkah, and this word is not the word milkah. This is a steamy word. I don't know how to translate it, but the ravishing one, I don't know, it's a steamy word. It's describing the woman that the man is just smitten in love with. I don't know. Do you have an offering for translation of that word? I don't know that we have a word like that. It's a word related to physical desire. It's an intense word. It's describing the woman about to be married. I don't think queen does justice to that, but I don't. When I read this myself, I just say the Shagael. The Shagael is at your right hand, and she's dressed very beautifully. Now it starts talking to the girl. Listen to me, O daughter. Now, who does Hebrews 1 say is the speaker here? Hebrews 1 says the speaker is God. So when it says, "Hear, O daughter," whose daughter is she? Isn't it God's daughter? Have you ever wondered why in Christian weddings fathers walk their daughters down the aisle? So, some people say, oh, toxic patriarchy, woman is possession, handing over from one man to one. No, that's not the picture. Who's the first person in the Bible to walk a woman down the aisle to her future husband? Who's the first guy who does that in Scripture? I can tell you who gets my vote. It's God, and he's bringing Eve to Adam. Eve is God's daughter. He's delighted. That doesn't sound like toxic patriarchy to me. That sounds like a cool cosmic wedding. Oh, and who's bringing this new Eve to her new Adam? It's God. So I think this is saying that the girl is God's daughter. Now, if you want to try to make this the queen of Egypt and marrying the Pharaoh's daughter, I don't know. I don't know how that would be David's prayer. It's certainly not how this psalm is used in the New Testament, but some people do that. I'm reading this of the girl is God's daughter, and this is what God is telling his daughter. Look carefully, incline your ear, and the "your" there is a girl. You can't, well, I suppose in English, because it's a daughter, but in Hebrew you can differentiate between you man and you woman, and this has to be a woman. Incline your ear, forget your people, and the house of your father. Something's about to change for you. Forget everything that went before. And the king will desire your beauty. This is weird in Hebrew. This is a hithpael, and usually that's reflexive. I would translate, the king will let himself desire your beauty. And this is a very steamy word there as well. The root, well, I'll just leave it there. The king will let him desire your beauty. Now remember, I talked about the stuttering, you are more handsome. This is the same word, but it's not stuttering there. So I don't know what to make of it. She's beautiful. She's not as beautiful as the man is handsome. I suppose we could do that. And then this is where, to me, it gets super weird. The king will let himself desire your beauty. Since he is your Lord, bow down to him. Now, that's a perfectly good translation. You can do it that way. I could defend that translation all day long. There is, however, another way to translate it, and I want to do it the other way, and you tell me, is there a difference at all? So forget everything in the past. The result is the king will intensely desire your beauty. And then I'm going to offer an alternate translation here. Because he is your Adonai, worship him. So you know how in this class we've talked about Adonai? How is Adonai used in the Bible over and over? 6,000 times it's used in the Bible. Isn't the word Adonai the translation surrogate for the Tetragrammaton? Because this warrior king, this Gibor that you're about to marry, who's going to go wipe out the enemies before the wedding day, because he is your Adonai, worship him. This exact word is the word that appears in the Ten Commandments where God says, don't you hishtavah anything but God. So this guy's about to get married, and God is telling the girl, you treat your husband as YHWH, and you hishtavah him. I'm sorry, I don't think this has anything to do with Solomon. This has everything to do with Jesus. And in fact, when the New Testament quotes this psalm and John is looking at this woman about to be married, this bride who is this cosmic city, this cosmic holy of holies, and the angel is talking to him, it says that John fell down and proskuneoed the angel, and the angel says, whoa, don't do that. You proskuneo God. So whoever's speaking is telling this girl, to relate to her husband as Adonai. And notice it didn't say Adoni, what Sarah says to Abraham, my Lord singular. It actually uses the my Lord's plural, because he is your Adonai, hishtavahim. People of Tyre will seek your favor, and the "your" there is the girl. So this is why she should forget, because when she becomes the queen, people are going to be desperate to meet you, to talk to you, to ask for things from you. They're going to bring gifts to you. Then it says this, all glorious is the princess in her chamber with robes interwoven with gold. I think I would do that. All made glorious, all glorified. I don't know. All glorified is the daughter of a king. So I think that's why they're doing princess, but I would do daughter of a king. Inwardly. This is the same word that's used of the beauty of the insides of the temple. So temple-like beauty. I have no idea how to translate. This is describing the wedding, and it's something that happens in a wedding. I don't know what it is, but it looks like the woman is changing, like is being clothed with different clothes. These are her original clothes, and then she's being clothed differently. I don't know how to do it, but like these are multicolored clothes. She is led to the king. Virgins come after her. Her buddies, that's probably not the right way. These are her bridesmaids, I think. Could you just say? I didn't quite hear. Yeah, I think she's gloriously dressed, and then the ceremony she's dressed differently. That's how I'm reading it. But the first clothes are golden clothes. The second clothes are multicolored clothes, at least as I'm reading it. This is describing a royal wedding. I've never been to a royal wedding. That's probably why I'm not getting it. But like, this is mega cool, whatever's going on. I think these are her friends. They're being brought in with joy and gladness. This is their joy, so they're completely joyous. They enter the palace of the king, and this is that palace temple word again. Now we're talking to the guy. Instead of your fathers will be your sons. So for this cause, a man will leave his father, mother, and be glued to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. This is advice to the guy. Instead of your fathers will be your sons. You will place them as princes over the entire earth. So I think the wedding's going to happen, And the result of this wedding is going to be a huge family, and that family is going to rule the entire world. That kind of sounds like the Dominion Mandate to me. I will cause your name, so this is the man's name. And the way it's written in Hebrew, it's written as if it were a prayer. I would do it. Let me make your name remembered throughout generation to generation. Therefore, peoples will praise you. This is the man. Will praise you into the eternity of eternities. Do you think that's Solomon? I don't think this is Solomon. You know, Solomon married 700 women and he had 300 concubines. Did Solomon even care what his wives' names were? Do you think he even knew his wives' names? If you can imagine yourself as one of Solomon's wives, do you think there's much real love in that circumstance? Solomon will give you $500,000 a year, just make him happy whenever he wants to be happy. Do you think that's a very good marriage? That kind of sounds like a transaction to me. Solomon saying, hey, I'll make your life outwardly very comfortable. Just keep me happy whenever I want. And I'm not going to learn your name, but you'll live in a nice house. It'll be easy. I don't know, are you kind of getting where the girl's coming from in Song of Songs, saying, hey, bud, keep your money, I'm not interested? Solomon looked for the perfect marriage, and he looked for it in 1,000 different beds. Solomon has nothing to do with this psalm. Solomon was never going to find a marriage like this because Solomon is not Jesus. Jesus is the shepherd king who gave his dying breath to make his one wife holy and glorious and beautiful. And her name is written on the palms of his hands, and he gave up everything. He emptied himself by taking, and he is the warrior king who conquered. This has nothing to do with Solomon. This has everything to do with Jesus. And I don't know, I think it gives us a strategy for reading a lot of the text. And it is how the New Testament writers are reading this. I see our time is gone. I will see you on Friday.